And thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. We continue to follow Tuesday's bombshell from the White House. President Donald Trump fired FBI Director James Comey. The termination came without warning. Just last week, Comey testified about the FBI's investigation into Russia's meddling in the U.S. election and the agency's investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's emails. CBN Washington correspondent Eric Rosales has a closer look at what led to the president's decision.
In this letter, President Trump notified FBI Director James Comey, quote, "You are hereby terminated and removed from office effective immediately," explaining you are not able to effectively lead the Bureau. It was just last week that Comey told Congress he was mildly nauseous at the idea his announcements about Hillary Clinton's emails may have impacted the election.
There were thousands of Secretary Clinton's emails on that device.
Comey broke the news last year that his investigators were again looking into the Clinton case just 11 days before the election. This time they were poring over new emails discovered on the laptop of Anthony Weiner, the disgraced former congressman married to Clinton's close aide, Huma Abedin.
His then spouse, Huma Abedin, appears to have had a regular practice of forwarding emails to him, for him, I think, to print out for her, so she could then deliver them to the Secretary of State.
In testimony before Congress last week, Comey said Abedin forwarded, quote, hundreds of thousands of emails, some of which contain classified information. But Tuesday evening, the FBI corrected Comey's comments, saying they were wrong and his testimony was misleading. And various problems with the Clinton investigation are considered a key reason why the president fired Comey. Attorney General Jeff Sessions wrote the president stating, "The director of the FBI must be someone who follows faithfully the rules and principles of the Department of Justice." He went on to say, therefore, "I must recommend that you remove Director James B. Comey Jr." News of Comey's firing spread quickly with many here in Washington, particularly Democrats questioning why now.
If the administration had objections to the way Director Comey handled the Clinton investigation, they had those objections the minute the president got into office. But they didn't fire him then. Why did it happen today? We know the House is investigating Russian interference in our elections that benefited the Trump campaign.
The big question now involves the current FBI investigation into Russian meddling in last year's presidential election. Attorney General Jeff Sessions had to recuse himself after news reports revealed he had undisclosed meetings with the Russian ambassador last year. No doubt it's going to be a real test for both the FBI and the Department of Justice, as the White House expects to name a new director soon. In Washington, D.C., Eric Rosales, CBN News.
President Trump meets with Russia's top diplomat at the White House today. It is the highest level in-person interaction with Russia since President Trump took office. Mark Martin is on this story.
President Trump's meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at the White House would signal that relations between the United States and Russia have improved, ties that Trump referred to recently as being at an all-time low. The president's meeting with Lavrov will happen after the Russian diplomat meets with Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Tillerson met with the Prime Minister of Montenegro Monday at the State Department and was asked about Lavrov's visit.
Mr. Secretary, is Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov's visit to Washington a sign of relations improving?
We shall see.
The most pressing foreign policy issue on the agenda is a Russian proposal to stabilize Syria, a country torn apart by civil war. The U.S.-Russia talks will happen in the midst of FBI and congressional investigations into possible collusion between Russia and Trump campaign associates involving last year's presidential election. White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer says the president has no ties to Russia.
He has no business in Russia. He has no connections to Russia.
Trump has also said he is not aware of his aides being involved in any election meddling by the Russians. He says the different investigations are a hoax, fueled by Democrats who are upset that their candidate lost in last year's presidential contest. Mark Martin, CBN News.
South Korea's newly elected president is open to visiting North Korea under the right conditions. President Moon Jae-in made the announcement during his inauguration ceremony, but his stance could create friction with officials in Washington. Moon also said he'll, quote, sincerely negotiate with the United States and China over the deployment of a U.S. missile defense system.
I will further strengthen the South Korea-U.S. alliance
On the other hand, I will seriously negotiate with the U.S. and China over the issue of THAAD. Solid national security comes from strong national defense power. I will make efforts to step up our national defense powers. I will also devise a basis for resolving the North Korean nuclear issues.
South Korea's president did not offer any specifics on that plan. President Trump has a new plan to directly arm Kurdish forces fighting in Syria. The move is expected to anger the Turkish government. A spokesperson from the Pentagon said the arming is needed in order to successfully seize the Islamic stronghold of Raqqa. Turkey views the Kurds as terrorists and calls the decision unacceptable. Their main concern is the arms provided by the U.S. will one day be used against them. U.S. officials say the weapons and ammunition provided will be limited to what the Kurds need to carry out specific operations. After the battle, the U.S. will work to retrieve any leftover equipment. Vice President Pence is scheduled to address persecuted Christians from around the world this week at a summit hosted by evangelist Franklin Graham. More than 600 people from 130 countries are expected to come together, pray, and hear firsthand accounts from those being persecuted. Pence is scheduled to speak at the event on Thursday. Christian radio host Hank Hanegraaff has announced he has a rare form of cancer and is asking support as well as prayer. Doctors diagnosed him with mantle cell lymphoma. He is known as the Bible Answer Man. He told his supporters he is praying for God's will to be done and says despite the diagnosis, he's been, quote, enveloped in peace. And still to come, right here on CBN NewsWatch, the battle cry that ignited Jews all over the world. Best-selling author Joel Rosenberg talks about the prophetic significance of the SixDay War and the Jews' return to the land of Israel. (1967) Six-Day War pitted a relatively young Israel against 5 established Arab armies. But many people don't realize that one of the world's superpowers also came dangerously close to entering the war. And as Chris Mitchell reports, that led to fears of a potential Armageddon.
June 5th, 1967. Prime Minister Levi Eshkol sent a cable to President Lyndon Johnson informing war had begun. He wrote, Israel's existence and integrity have been endangered. He added a request, prevent the Soviet Union from exploiting and enlarging the conflict at Israel's greatest hour of danger.
What most people don't realize is that the actor that was perhaps the most dangerous, but operating sort of behind the scenes, was the Soviet Union.
Middle East expert Joel Rosenberg says, while Israel faced the combined might of Arab countries, it was the Soviet Union casting a giant shadow over the war.
Now, June 5th, 1967, the morning that Eshkol orders Israeli bombers into action, and they're successful, Soviet Premier Kosygin dials the hotline right into the White House and demands to talk to President Johnson. Now, the hotline was rarely used except in the most extreme crises. And the message that Kosygin sent heavily implied that if the United States didn't force Israel to back down, that the Soviets were going to take direct military action. And this took the conflict to an entirely different level.
President Johnson had told Eshkol the U.S. might cut off political and military assistance to Israel in case of a preemptive strike.
So the Israeli leadership was already taking a huge risk that Johnson would keep his word. Once the Soviets got involved, a dynamic changed. Suddenly, the Johnson White House saw the conflict not simply in terms of Israeli-Egyptian, Israeli-Syrian terms, but in U.S.-Soviet terms.
That led Johnson to send the Sixth Fleet steaming towards Israel as a show of support.
Would you say the fact that the Soviets never did get into the war part of the miracle of the Six-Day War?
I think it's one of the untold stories, or rarely told stories, of God's protection of Israel, is the fact that the Soviets seemed to come so close, that they were threatening to the Americans, to the Israelis directly. They were promising their Arab allies that they were going to do more, and then they were actually moving military forces closer and closer to Israel.
Rosenberg also sees the war as a prophetic milestone.
The Bible does say that Jerusalem will come back under Jewish control, and it happened in June of 1967. The Bible says that Judea and Samaria, what the world calls the West Bank, will be in Jewish hands. It's part of the biblical heartland. And God says he will restore the land, and he'll restore the people to the land. And I think that you also see God giving this land back to the Jewish people. Not because we deserve it, but because God had promised it.
The Six-Day War became a turning point for Jewish immigration to the land of Israel.
Throughout the Old Testament, God says that he's going to draw the Jewish people back to the land. But what's interesting is that at that moment, when Mordechai Gur, the Israeli general, said on the radio, the Temple Mount is in our hands. When that was broadcast, not just through Israel, but worldwide, it electrified Jewish communities all over the planet. The level of aliyah, Jews leaving their exile countries and coming back to the land of their forefathers, skyrocketed in the years ahead.
Although Israel survived one of its darkest moments, Rosenberg says it still faces threats from the north, backed by a familiar interloper.
I see that the Russians are very actively moving into this region. They have made Iran their primary ally, and now they're working hand in glove with Iran to prop up Bashar al-Assad, who has slaughtered some 500,000 people in Syria. So you now have Russian forces, Iranian forces, helping Syrian forces just a few miles north of Israel.
50 years since the battle for Jerusalem, Rosenberg says Israel and its capital remain on the front lines.
Jerusalem was reunited 50 years ago, but the battle for Jerusalem remains. It's a political battle. It's an economic battle. There are people trying to isolate Israel politically around the world. Jerusalem is the flashpoint. Jerusalem is the epicenter. For 4,000 years, people have wanted this city, and they have fought hard to get it. And so the fact that Israel controls it today is biblical, it's prophetic, but it's also complicated. And we need to be praying for the peace of Jerusalem and praying for Israel to be secure.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Up next, a very serious question. Could you be putting yourself at risk for cancer? One spoonful at a time. We'll show you the popular ingredient you need to avoid. Scientists believe 2/3 of all cancers are caused by our own bad choices, like smoking, not exercising, and the granddaddy of them all, a poor diet. Because what you eat can literally kill you. Our CBN News health reporter Lori Johnson shows us the dramatic link between cancer and sugar.
A clear relationship between sugar and cancer leads scientists to two conclusions. Sugar use contributes to cancer, and going without it can slow growth of the disease. 100 years ago, most folks consumed only 4 pounds of sugar a year. That's this much. Now, however, the average person takes in 40 times this amount, 160 pounds of sugar a year. That's this much. Food manufacturers add enormous amounts of sugar, usually in the form of high fructose corn syrup, to products we consume all day, every day. Coffee drinks and cereal, soda and snacks. Even foods you wouldn't expect, like spaghetti sauce and peanut butter. This tiny container of yogurt contains more sugar than a candy bar. Now, scientists tell us sugar directly influences cancer cells. The amount we consume can either feed those cells or starve them. In a landmark study, researchers at UT MD Anderson Cancer Center fed mice high fructose corn syrup in percentages equal to what many humans consume. Those mice developed higher rates of lung and breast cancer compared to mice fed less sugar. The study also tells us something about people who already have cancer. One researcher said a lot of patients are told it doesn't matter what you eat after you are diagnosed with cancer. This preliminary animal research suggests that it does matter.
And it just absolutely amazes me that medical science is just now finding this out.
Fred Hatfield knows firsthand sugar intake matters after a cancer diagnosis. Back in 2012, his diagnosis was basically a death sentence.
The doctors gave me 3 months to live because of widespread metastatic cancer in my skeletal structure. 3 months. 3 different doctors told me that same thing.
It's a horrible, horrible feeling to have someone tell you that the person that you love only has 3 months to live and you're not going to be with him anymore.
Then Fred heard about a low-sugar diet called the ketogenic diet, believed to slow cancer in some people. With nothing to lose, he gave it a try, and to his astonishment, it worked.
And the cancer was gone completely.
Fred's recovery didn't surprise Dr. Dominic D'Agostino. His team at the University of South Florida discovered mice with highly aggressive metastatic cancer continued living when fed a ketogenic diet.
We have dramatically increased survival with metabolic therapy. So we think it's important to get this information out.
And it's not just lab animals. Dr. D'Agostino has seen similar results in humans.
I've been in correspondence with a number of people, probably at least a dozen people, and over the last 1.5 to 2 years, and all of them are still alive, so despite the odds. And so this is very encouraging.
The ketogenic diet means no sugar and no starchy carbohydrates like bread and pasta that convert to sugar. D'Agostino says cancer cells love sugar and starch because cancer thrives on the glucose from those foods. Remove the glucose and starve the cancer cells. Glucose also fuels our healthy cells, but if it's not there, those cells can switch to an alternate fuel source called ketone bodies. Cancer cells only run on glucose.
Your normal cells have the metabolic flexibility to adapt from using glucose to using ketone bodies, but cancer cells lack this metabolic flexibility, so we can exploit that.
Since processed food contains so much sugar and starch, people following the ketogenic diet tend to cook whole foods from scratch.
You can go online and there's just cookbooks and, it's clean eating, just very clean eating. None of the sugars, the salts, the trash food.
So when it comes to cancer, sugar is considered public enemy number 1. Avoiding it could lead to prevention or slow it down in people fighting the disease. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Avoid that sugar. Stay with us. There's much more of CBN NewsWatch straight ahead. An increasing number of parents in China are walking away from children born with physical disabilities, but we have a miracle story to report. Here's Gary Lane.
For 7 years, Fu Twin-zhi and his wife Xiao-li tried to conceive a child. Finally, in 2011, they decided to adopt an abandoned baby. The Christian couple was thrilled when they found the perfect baby at a local orphanage.
As soon as we got the phone call, we were so happy. My wife and I couldn't wait to see this baby. We've been waiting for this day forever.
In the midst of their happiness, they received disappointing news. The baby that they thought had been perfectly and wonderfully made was born with a small tumor in his mouth and was not able to eat and drink.
We didn't know what to do. We wanted to keep the baby. Meanwhile, the cost for the surgery was so expensive. We were heartbroken. We lost hope and direction.
These church members went through a tough time. They didn't ask for anything except for prayers and guidance. So I invited all Christians to pray for a miracle.
Half a world away, Americans Audrey and Rob Post heard about the Chinese family's struggle. A church member shared the story and then asked them to pray. They did so and remained faithful, believing that God would answer their prayers.
My husband and I always know the Lord can do miracles. Jesus answered prayers many times in our life, and we believe that nothing is too difficult for the Lord.
Other Christians also prayed for the Chinese couple and their baby. As time went by, although nothing changed, they still believed that God could work a miracle.
God's favor will show up when we are down to nothing. Just because they didn't see a way, it certainly didn't mean God was not working behind the scenes. I told the couple to remain faithful and patient.
Amazingly, one day, Zhi and Xiaoli saw the baby just spit something out of his mouth. They gave it a closer look and discovered it was the tumor that had been lodged in his mouth. The couple was brought to tears.
It's a miracle. Only Jesus could do such an unthinkable miracle. When all Christians come and pray together, we can move mountains.
Not only did God give an abandoned child a new home, but he also performed a life-changing miracle for an entire Chinese family. Gary Lane, CBN News.
With that, I leave you with this word. Our God is a wonderful God, and he wants nothing short of his best for you. That is love, a simple thought, but I encourage you to take a moment to sit with that and make this a wonderful Wednesday. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Thank you so much for joining us. Make this a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you right back here come tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.